The room glowed in the pale blue of a late-night screen. Mark Benson's hands hovered over his keyboard, the soft hum of his laptop filling the silence. "You make my heart feel safe," Emma had written. Her photo smiled back. Brown hair, gentle green eyes, the white walls of a hospital behind her. For months, she'd been the only voice that made him feel seen. Tonight, she said her account was frozen, her hospital under threat, and she had no way out. Without thinking, Mark sent everything. His savings, his trust, his heart. The confirmation screen blinked once, then went dark. A buzz cut through the quiet. His father's message appeared. "Son, who's this woman calling herself Emma?" "She's been writing me too." The same smile. The same woman. His world tilted as his reflection flickered in the black screen. Could you spot a lie wearing a perfect smile? The morning came like punishment. Mark sat by his kitchen window, staring into untouched coffee. He replayed her words in his mind, each one now poisoned. He typed Emma's name into a reverse image search. Hundreds of results appeared. Different names, different stories, all with her face. Each photo felt like a nail driving deeper into his chest. His father called again, voice trembling with anger. "She told me she loved me too," Peter said. The silence between them was thick, the sound of betrayal echoing in both men's voices. Mark's world tilted as denial dissolved into grief. The woman who healed his loneliness had stolen it instead. Mark drove to his father's house that afternoon, the sky heavy with rain. Peter greeted him at the door, phone in hand, eyes sharp with concern. They sat in silence before Peter spoke. "You're not the only one, son. She's talking to men all over." He scrolled through messages, photos, voice notes, sweet promises, all copied and pasted. Mark felt the air leave his lungs. "I sent her everything," he whispered. Peter's hand found his shoulder, rough but forgiving. Outside, thunder rolled. For the first time, they faced the same wound together. Different hearts, same lie. That night, Mark opened a new message thread, one with no response. "Emma," he typed, "why did you do this?" The typing dots appeared, then vanished. Again, then silence. A chill crept through the room. He checked her profile. It was gone. The photos, the posts, the name, erased. His pulse thudded in his ears. He thought about her laugh, the late-night calls, the confessions she made. None of it real. He slammed the laptop shut and sat back, staring into the dark. Somewhere out there, she was doing it again. Maybe to another lonely man. Maybe to someone's father. 2 days later, Mark sat across from Detective Isla Rowe at the local precinct. Her calm voice carried quiet understanding. "You're not alone," she said, sliding a folder across the desk. Inside were screenshots. Dozens of reports from men across the country. All fell for Nurse Emma. Mark's breath caught. "Do you know who she really is?" Isla met his eyes. "Not yet," she said. "But we will." Mark nodded, his shame giving way to resolve. For the first time, he wanted justice more than closure. He wasn't just a victim anymore. He was a witness. Mark sat across from Detective Isla Rowe again, the low hum of the precinct breaking the silence. She pulled up a map on her monitor, word pins dotted across the country. "Each one is a victim," she said quietly. "Different names? Same photos?" Mark leaned closer, recognizing the same smile that once warmed him, now haunting a dozen screens. "She's not one person," Isla added. "It's a team, organized, methodical." The words sank like lead. Mark felt the sting of betrayal all over again. But beneath it, something colder stirred. Resolve. "Then let's find them," he said. Isla's eyes met his. For the first time, he wasn't just another case number. He was her lead. Later that night, Mark drove home through rain that felt endless. Every passing streetlight flashed against the windshield, like fragments of memory. Her laughter, her voice, her lies. He parked and sat there, engine running, staring at the empty passenger seat where she once promised to sit. Someday, his phone buzzed again. A new message. Unknown number. "Hi, Mark. It's Emma. Please, just hear me out." He froze. The profile picture was new. Same woman, different name. His pulse quickened. He wasn't sure if it was fear or obsession that made him open it. He showed the message to Isla the next morning. Her eyes sharpened. "They're trying to reel you back in," she said. "Don't reply. We can trace it." Mark nodded, though part of him wanted to answer, to demand a reason, to hear her voice again. Isla typed quickly, launching a trace through a cybercrime portal. The signal jumped countries in seconds. Ghana, Romania, then back to the US. "It's a relay chain," she murmured, "but we're close." Mark leaned forward, watching lines of code race across her screen. Somewhere, behind the data and distance, someone was smiling at their confusion. "That evening," Peter called. His voice shook with guilt. "She's messaging me again, son. New name, new story." Mark's stomach dropped. "Don't reply," he said firmly. But Peter's silence was heavy. "She said she's real this time," he whispered. The call ended with static. Mark grabbed his jacket and keys. The line between pity and anger blurred. His father wasn't just another victim. He was being hunted too. As he drove toward his father's house, the night seemed endless, like a tunnel with no light at the end. Peter's living room was dark except for the glow of his phone. "She sent me a video," he said. The screen showed Emma, speaking softly, eyes full of emotion. But Isla's voice echoed in Mark's head. "It's not real. It's generated." He took the phone and replayed it, noticing subtle distortions. The blink too slow. The mouth slightly off sync. It wasn't a woman at all. It was technology wearing her face. His father looked lost. A man betrayed twice by the same ghost. Mark placed the phone down gently. "It's over," he said. But even as he spoke, the phone buzzed again. Another message. Another name. Another start. Detective Isla's office was filled with the glow of multiple screens. Rows of faces, messages, and digital trails spiraled across her monitors. "They built an empire on stolen love," she murmured. Mark stood behind her, silent, absorbing every detail. Each alias had hundreds of victims. Every message was crafted from templates. It wasn't a woman reaching out. It was an operation running on scripts, servers, and greed. Mark's hand tightened into a fist. "Can we stop them?" he asked. Isla nodded faintly. "If we can trace the money, yes. But we'll need bait." Mark understood before she even said it. He'd already been chosen to play the part. Mark's heart raced as he reopened the fake profile that had messaged him. He typed slowly. "Emma, I thought I lost you." Seconds later, the dots appeared, then a reply. "I never stopped thinking about you." Isla watched from the next room, every keystroke mirrored on her monitor. The trap was live. They'd planted trace code into Mark's messages, a silent fingerprint that followed data back to its origin. "We're in," Isla whispered. The digital trail began to crawl across continents. On one screen, a new IP address blinked alive. On another, an offshore account stirred. The lie was breathing again, and they were chasing its heartbeat. The trace led to an address outside Lagos. A call came in from Interpol confirming it. An online fraud hub hidden behind a private clinic. Isla's pulse quickened. "We've got them," she said. Mark watched in silence as officers moved in through grainy live feed. The suspects were young, faces blank, eyes fixed on glowing monitors. "They think they're untouchable," Isla said softly. "They sell affection like it's currency." Mark leaned closer, voice low. "And we buy it because we're lonely." The feed flickered as one of the men looked straight at the camera. For a heartbeat. Mark felt seen again, not by love, but by the lie itself. When the arrest came, the silence felt heavier than victory. Isla walked Mark through the recovered files, thousands of photos, letters, voice notes stolen from real nurses and repurposed into illusions. She never existed, Isla said. Mark stared at the folder labeled Emma, the name now hollow. But someone's face does, he whispered. Isla nodded. And she deserves to be freed from this. They traced the original photos to a real woman in Ohio, a nurse whose identity had been hijacked for years. Mark's chest tightened. She was real, but she'd never known his name. Mark couldn't sleep that night. He searched the real nurse's name and found her online. A woman smiling with her family, unaware her image had become a weapon. His cursor hovered over the message button. He wanted to tell her everything, to apologize for falling for her shadow. But he closed the browser instead. Some truths, he realized, weren't meant to be shared. He stepped outside, the night air cool against his skin. Somewhere out there, another version of Emma was being created. He looked up at the dark sky and whispered, "Not this time." For the first time in months, he meant it. Weeks passed. The headlines came and went, but Mark stayed off screen, learning how to live without constant messages lighting up his phone. Detective Isla invited him to a community seminar on online deception. He almost didn't go. Yet, when she introduced him, the room grew still. He spoke plainly about trust, about loneliness, about believing too quickly. "Scammers don't steal money first," he said. "They steal your story." The crowd listened, faces softened by understanding. For the first time, his shame turned into purpose. After the session, an older couple approached Mark. Their daughter had nearly sent money to someone claiming to be a soldier. They thanked him for speaking up. Mark nodded, humbled by their relief. Behind him, Isla handed out leaflets with red flag signs. Requests for secrecy, emotional urgency, sudden crises. "If something feels too perfect," she told the group, "pause before you reply." The words landed gently but firmly. Mark realized that truth, shared early, could save more hearts than any investigation ever could. Later, Isla recorded a short video for the department's social feed. Mark sat quietly behind the camera as she spoke. Catfishing preys on emotion, not ignorance. Anyone can fall for kindness when it's constant. She listed helplines, reporting portals, and digital safety steps. When she finished, Mark hit stop on the camera. "You think it'll help?" he asked. She smiled. "Someone out there will see it before it's too late." The simplicity of her answer was stronger than any arrest warrant. One evening, Mark scrolled through old chat logs he had saved, not to relive them, but to understand. Each message showed patterns he now recognized. Timed compliments, urgent confessions, manufactured crises. He highlighted them, added notes, built slides. That night he emailed Isla. "Let's turn this into a workshop," she replied within minutes. "Already ahead of you." The past, once painful, was becoming a tool. In exposing the method, he was finally disarming it. Months later, Mark walked past a library window displaying a poster. "Stay alert online. A talk by Mark Benson and Detective Isla Rowe." He smiled faintly. The hurt would never vanish, but it had shape now, purpose. He stepped inside, hearing Isla greet the crowd. She nodded toward him, and the lights dimmed. "Would you trust someone you've never met?" she began. The same question that once haunted him now protected others. And for Mark, that was enough. The months that followed brought quiet progress. Mark volunteered at a local tech center, teaching digital basics to seniors. Each week, he watched fear turn into confidence as they learned to spot warning signs, duplicate profiles, urgent payment requests, emotional hooks. "Technology isn't the enemy," he told them. "Silence is." Detective Isla often dropped by, helping turn their stories into training guides for police and schools. What began as damage control was becoming a movement. One rooted not in shame but in shared strength. News outlets picked up the story again, but this time, it wasn't about loss. It was about prevention. Mark's face appeared beside headlines reading "From Victim to Advocate." He still disliked the word victim, but if it made someone listen sooner, it was worth it. During interviews, he spoke about rebuilding. It's not about deleting the past. It's about learning to read it differently. Each appearance inspired more people to come forward. The cycle of silence was breaking. Detective Isla and Mark later visited a high school auditorium filled with students scrolling their phones. Isla projected screenshots of fake messages beside verified ones, teaching them to question what they saw. Mark shared how easy it was to believe what you needed to be true. The students listened, some nervously, some curiously. "Think twice before you click," he said, "and if something feels off, talk about it." The applause that followed was small but genuine, a spark of awareness in a generation born online. One evening after a workshop, Mark and Isla sat outside the community hall, watching the last attendees leave. "Do you ever think it's over?" he asked. Isla smiled softly. "Deception never ends," she said, "but neither does awareness." The street lights hummed above them, steady and quiet. For Mark, the noise of the online world no longer echoed with uncertainty. It carried clarity, purpose, and choice. The next morning, Mark opened his laptop, not to check messages, but to draft a guide called "The 5 Questions Before You Trust." Each question came from what I'd lived. Who are they? What do they ask for? Why the rush? Can you verify? Would they still care if money never came up? When he finished, he smiled, uploaded the document, and closed the lid. Outside, the world moved on. But this time, he was part of the solution. Months later, the story of Nurse Emma became a case study. Schools, newsrooms, and online safety groups used it to teach how emotional grooming works in the digital space. Mark's name appeared in training slides beside Isla's as examples of recovery through truth-telling. "Scams aren't about money," Isla said in a recorded voiceover. "They're about vulnerability." Each time someone recognized the pattern early, another silent rescue took place somewhere in the world. Mark's online guide spread quickly. Community centers translated it into multiple languages. The 5 questions traveled farther than he ever imagined. Shared on social feeds, printed in newsletters, whispered between parents and kids. It wasn't fame, it was ripple. A quiet reminder that trust is a practice, not a guarantee. Every download meant one less silent heartbreak. Detective Isla recorded a closing statement for a government awareness film. "Technology changes every day," she said. "But empathy remains our strongest firewall." Her voice overlapped images of real victims rebuilding lives, joining workshops, reconnecting with families, learning to question what once felt unquestionable. It wasn't about fear anymore. It was about literacy. In a quiet montage, the camera followed small moments. A grandmother deleting a suspicious friend request. A student teaching his peers about fake profiles. A father warning his son never to send money online. Over it, Mark's voice echoed. "Connection is human. Verification is kindness." The phrase became a hashtag, a classroom motto, a shared digital code of care. The final frame faded to black text on white. "Trust carefully. Love openly. Verify always." Beneath it, a hotline and website for reporting online scams appeared. The sound of quiet typing filled the background, reminding viewers that the same screen that deceives can also protect. The story wasn't about one man anymore. It was about everyone learning to look twice before believing once. The campaign had grown beyond Mark and Isla. Across towns and timelines, people shared their stories, some heartbreaking, some hopeful. Libraries hosted digital honesty days. Tech companies added reminder pop-ups, "Pause before you trust." For the first time, prevention wasn't hidden behind shame. Mark watched news clips showing strangers quoting his guide. It struck him that the same internet that once fooled him was now teaching honesty, one scroll at a time. Detective Isla stood on stage at an international cybersecurity forum. "Behind every data point is a person," she said. "Behind every scam, a story unfinished." Her words drew a quiet applause. The camera cut to Mark in the crowd, recording her talk. He no longer saw himself as the victim in her sentence. He saw himself as proof that awareness works. Later, when reporters asked why he kept doing this, he answered simply, "Because silence helps the next lie start." In classrooms and cafes, people began repeating Isla's phrase, "Empathy is the new firewall." Posters appeared in subways, offices, schools, bright colors, bold fonts, real stories. Survivors became mentors. Teen volunteers helped elders check privacy settings. Each action, however small, rewrote how trust existed online. What once was a warning had turned into a wave of care, reminding everyone that technology only mirrors what we put into it. Mark returned to the coastal park, where he once sat alone, watching waves crash against the rocks. He took out his phone, not to scroll, but to delete the last unread message from an unknown number. He didn't need to open it to know what it was. He smiled, lifted the phone's camera, and took a photo of the ocean instead. Some endings don't need confrontation. They need understanding. The film closes on Isla's voice over slow shots of ordinary people online. Families video calling, friends laughing, students learning. "Connection is a gift," she says. "Protect it. Question it. Question it. Cherish it." The screen fades to black with a final note. "If you suspect online fraud, report it. Support each other. Stay human." The typing sound returns one last time, this time steady, confident, hopeful.